Officer Morg sat in the captain's gyro chair trying to look busy and ignore the earthling sitting next to him. He mumbled to himself in Yandish. If this earthling doesn't shut the hell up, I'm going to put him in the refuse interlock and eject him into space. Doesn't he ever shut his voice hole? What'd you say, Morg? You know I don't understand Yandish. Turn on your translator so I understand what you're saying. Morg was more irritated with himself than the earthling. He had turned off his translator, but forgot to not talk to himself. He had reached a breaking point and couldn't help himself. Talking out loud was the best way he knew to drown out the earthling's continuous blabbering. Morg flipped the translator to voice mode. Sorry, earthling. I must have hit the translator off switch by mistake. What were you saying? That's all it took to get the earthling yapping again. I don't remember. After a few seconds of reflection and believing he had Morg's attention, the earthling began to ramble again. Morg, did I ever tell you how I ended up on Yanda? It was about 8 years ago when I was 19 years old. I was minding my business behind... In the past month, Morg had heard this story at least 3 dozen times. He had it memorized and could repeat it verbatim. Listening to it was almost intolerable. With each retelling the story, the earthling made himself more heroic. If this continued, he would be a superhero by the end of that trip. Morg could imagine the final version. The kid would save the universe from a wicked, evil force. Morg scrambled to think of a way not to listen to the story again. If he could wait until the earthling got wrapped up in his ridiculous, heroic tale, he could flip off his translator. Too bad there wasn't a way to avoid hearing the melodic drone of the earthling's words and see his animated arms, hands, and eye movements. But at least he wouldn't have to hear the Yandish translation of the story again. If the earthling got extremely carried away with himself, Morg could mentally sneak away and think of better times on his home planet of Yanda. The old man's place, having a couple tokes on a fancy stick when out of nowhere, this UFO drops out of the sky and sets down. Let me tell you, it freaked me out. I hate to admit it, but I was scared. I'd never seen a spacecraft before. I thought aliens from outer space was a bunch of BS, but there it was. A large, elliptical spacecraft pulsating like a throbbing boner. Morg had no idea what a boner was, but the earthling cackled with laughter each time he said the word. I turned to run, but before I could take one stride, something grabbed me from behind. Morg wanted to break in with a smarmy comment of, gee, let me guess, could it have been a harness beam? But decided not to irritate the little creep sitting next to him. The next thing I knew was that I woke up inside a holding pen with about 100 other humans. There were men and women, but no children. I found this kind of strange, but it made perfect sense when I found out where we were being taken. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Anyhow, there were people from virtually every country on Earth in a holding pen. A man who spoke English told me that we were on the alien spacecraft. I thought he was nuts and this had to be a gag. But I changed my mind when an alien brought in a couple of pails of food and body waste containers. My God, he was an ugly son of a bitch. Morg, compared to that alien, you are photogenic.